Welcome to our Hong Kong Brief program, where we dive into the latest and greatest news snippets, keeping you in the loop with a dash of lightheartedness. Today, we've got an eclectic mix of stories that are bound to pique your interest, so let's jump right in. First up, we're talking green and mean, in a good way, innovations with Hong Kong startups tackling climate change head-on. Alcarbo Technologies is making waves by using microalgae to capture carbon dioxide. Yes, you heard it right, algae. With the help of some solar panels, shipping containers, and a dash of ingenuity, they're on a mission to suck up half a ton of CO2 per year. And with ambitions to scale up to 100 tons by 2023, they're not just floating around. Meanwhile, across the pond, the U.S. is tightening the visa vice for certain Hong Kong officials following the enactment of Article 23. It seems like the U.S. is sending a clear message about its stance on Hong Kong's crackdown on rights and freedoms. Switching gears to the financial sector, it seems China's finance industry is getting a major makeover. The government is telling banks to stop chasing profits and start serving the greater good, focusing on everything from green economies to digital advancements. But, will this top-down approach lead to innovation or just stifle the competitive spirit? Only time will tell. And speaking of changes, GGV Asia is eyeing a new adventure into private credit, aiming to sprinkle some investment magic across Asia. Meanwhile, Hong Kong is pondering a gentle hike in university fees after keeping them on ice for 27 years, and there's a buzz about boosting halal eateries to attract more Muslim visitors. Plus, Radio Free Asia is bidding adieu to its Hong Kong bureau amidst concerns over media freedom, and Taiwan's youth are staying resilient despite the looming shadow of China's aggression. To wrap things up, we've got some quirky snippets from around the globe, including a conspiracy theory debunked, a Swiss agrochemical giant pulling the plug on its Shanghai IPO, and Canada witnessing an exodus of its citizens. And for a touch of glamour, Marquesa's co-founder is selling her chic upstate barn for a cool $2.87 million. Lastly, a thought-provoking study suggests we might need to brace for a shrinking global population by 2100. Phew, that's a lot to digest. But don't worry, we've got all the juicy details coming up, so please stay tuned for more in-depth coverage. Green innovation, Hong Kong startups nurture algae as carbon capture tech. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong-based company Alcarbo Technologies is using microalgae to capture carbon dioxide in an effort to combat climate change. The company's facility in the Yuen Long district uses solar panels to power 2 shipping containers, which contain algae cultivation and harvesting equipment, as well as a water filtering system. The facility also has a wall of 12 algae photobioreactors capable of absorbing half a ton of carbon dioxide per year. Alcarbo has received 2.6 million Hong Kong dollars, $332,000, in funding from Hong Kong Science and Technology Parks, City University of Hong Kong's HK Tech 300 Fund and the Hong Kong Polytechnic University's Micro Fund. The company hopes to scale its capacity up to 100 tons per year by 2023, which would require 2,900 bioreactors spanning 3,500 square meters. Alcarbo is also exploring potential locations for carbon capture sites in mainland China, Vietnam, Pakistan, and the Middle East. U.S. to put new visa limits on Hong Kong officials following Article 23. South China Morning Post. The U.S. is preparing to impose new visa restrictions on Hong Kong officials deemed responsible for the crackdown on rights and freedoms in the city, according to Secretary of State Antony Blinken. He added that he would be certifying that Hong Kong will not receive special consideration under U.S. law that it enjoyed before its handover to China in 1997. Blinken cited the recent enactment of Article 23 of the Basic Law, which has broad and vaguely defined provisions regarding sedition, state secrets, and interactions with foreign entities, as a reason for the new restrictions. With new regulations and mandates, is the party over for China's finance sector? South China Morning Post. China's financial industry, which is largely controlled by the government, is undergoing significant changes that challenge the capitalist principle of putting profit-seeking first. Chinese banks are being instructed not to prioritize profits, but rather to serve national strategies and tailor services to businesses and sectors they would have ignored in the past. The government has outlined 5 realms that banks must serve: science and technology, the green economy, inclusive finance, care for the elderly, and the digital economy. However, some analysts have warned that Beijing's top-down approach may kill incentives and stifle competition. GGV Asia mulls expansion into private credit after split with U.S. Bloomberg. GGV Capital, the global tech venture capital firm, is planning to raise money to invest in private debt in Asia. The firm recently split from its U.S. counterpart, forming 2 separate partnerships. The Asia business, rebranded as Granite Asia, will focus on markets including China, Japan, South Asia, Australia, and Southeast Asia. The firm is reportedly planning to establish a private credit investing team in the second half of this year. Private credit, which includes direct lending, has become a fast-growing asset class and an increasingly important source of funding for businesses from tech startups to real estate firms. Slow approach wise for Hong Kong University fee rise. SCMP opinion. The Hong Kong government is considering increasing fees for public services, including water tariffs, medical bills, tuition fees, and sports facilities, to help balance the budget deficit. Secretary for Education, Christine Choi Yuk-lin, has pledged to gradually increase university fees, taking into consideration the impact on citizens. Currently, undergraduate fees have been frozen for 27 years, and the cost recovery rate has decreased from 18% in 2012 to 13.3% in 2022 to 23. Non-local students currently pay fees between 140,000 Hong Kong dollars and 171,000 Hong Kong dollars per year, with non-local admission set to increase to 40% under a government initiative. There are calls for a holistic approach to fee increases, taking into account adjustments in loan levels and repayment periods for students in need. The government has decided that there is no need to achieve a specific cost recovery target for education fees to prevent students and families from being burdened by hefty increases. Increase in halal eateries may help bring more Muslim visitors to Hong Kong. SCMP opinion. The Hong Kong Tourism Board is considering implementing a new halal certification system to attract more Muslim visitors and residents. The move would benefit the city's 300,000 Muslim residents and could also draw more leisure and business travelers from the Middle East and Southeast Asia. Hong Kong currently has around 105 halal-certified restaurants, compared to Singapore's 4,000 such eateries. The city is looking to attract travelers from countries including the United Arab Emirates, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Implementing a new halal certification system could create opportunities within the Belt and Road Initiative, which covers more than 100 countries with significant Muslim populations. Radio station closes Hong Kong bureau after passing of new security law. ABC. Radio Free Asia, RFA, has announced the closure of its Hong Kong bureau due to safety concerns following the enactment of a new national security law. The U.S.-funded radio station stated that the law would restrict media freedom. RFA's president, Bei Fong, expressed concerns about the ability to operate safely in Hong Kong after being referred to as a foreign force by authorities. The closure of RFA's bureau follows the shutdown of 2 other news outlets, Apple Daily and Stand News, after the introduction of a similar national security law in 2020. Hong Kong now ranks 140 out of 180 countries and territories in the World Press Freedom Index. The Hong Kong government dismissed RFA's concerns, stating that normal journalists would be safe in the city. How much does war with China scare Taiwan's youth? ABC. Many Taiwanese people feel that China's aggression towards the island is a constant threat. However, they do not perceive it as an imminent one. They believe that China can maintain control over Taiwan through policies and unfair trading practices, rather than needing to invade militarily. Taiwanese people have adapted to the frequent air defense exercises and the sound of jets flying overhead. They find the topic of war to be exhausting and prefer not to dwell on it. Instead, they focus on other concerns such as house prices, wage growth, and the cost of raising children. Many Taiwanese people identify solely as Taiwanese and not as Chinese. They believe that they have their own unique history and culture that sets them apart from China. They value their freedom of speech and their progressive LGBTQ+ policies. Despite the geopolitical uncertainty, Taiwanese people remain resilient and take pride in their heritage and culture. Conspiracy falsely links late shipping executive McConnell to Baltimore Bridge collapse. Yahoo! Social media users have falsely claimed that Angela Chow, the late CEO of New York-based shipping company Foremost Group, led the company that owns the container ship that crashed into a bridge in Baltimore, Maryland in late March 2024. Chow's firm does not own the Dali, Singapore-based Grace Ocean Private Limited does. Chow died in February 2024 after she accidentally drove her car into a pond at her Texas ranch. Syngenta withdraws Shanghai IPO application amid slowing China equities market. South China Morning Post. Swiss agrochemicals and seeds giant Syngenta Group has withdrawn its application for a listing in Shanghai due to the slowing Chinese equities market. The company's IPO, which could have raised $9 billion, has been postponed several times since it first filed for a listing in 2021. Syngenta said it would continue to pay attention to China's capital markets and would explore alternate sources of funding. The cancellation comes amid a quiet IPO market in China, where the country's securities regulator has pledged to raise thresholds for companies seeking to list. Hong Kong's main teams in fine start to Lacrosse Open, development side struggles. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong's women's lacrosse team had a winning start at the Hong Kong Lacrosse Open, defeating J Connection from Japan 13-6. The team is preparing for the World Championship qualifiers in 2025 and used the tournament as an opportunity to assess their current performance. Hong Kong's under-20 women's team also had a strong start, winning 17-2 against China. In the men's tournament, Fogo Japan, the tournament favorite, won both their matches comfortably. The Hong Kong U20 men's team lost both their games. The reasons why people are leaving Canada in droves. SCMP opinion. A secret report by the RCMP warns that Canada may experience civil unrest as citizens realize their bleak prospects. The report states that the country's situation is likely to worsen in the next 5 years, leading to continuing social and political polarization. In the first half of 2021, 42,000 people left Canada, and in the full years of 2021 and 2022, the numbers were 85,927 and 93,818 respectively. Canada's social safety net and reputation for comfortable living are deteriorating, and the country ranked 39th out of 170 countries last year in meeting the basic needs of its citizens. Marchesa's co-founder lists her upstate barn for $2.87 million. Bloomberg. Fashion designer Karen Craig, co-founder of luxury women's wear brand Marchesa, has listed her converted barn in upstate New York for $2.87 million. Craig and her husband, Piers North, bought the property 12 years ago and have since renovated it extensively. The 2,136-square-foot home includes 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, as well as a large open-plan living space on the second floor. Craig says she is selling the property in order to start work on a new project. We need to prepare for a shrinking world population, but will we? South China Morning Post. A new study published in the Lancet Medical Journal suggests just 6 economies out of 204 will have growing populations by 2100. 3 of these economies are in sub-Saharan Africa. The study, which is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, found that global fertility rates have halved since 1950, falling from 4.84 to 2.23 in 2021. By 2100, the global fertility rate is projected to fall to 1.59. The decline in population growth is expected to have significant implications for economies, geopolitics, food security, health, and the environment. Korean banks say to compensate investors for China-linked notes. Bloomberg. Some South Korean banks, including Kookmin Bank and Shinhan Bank, have agreed to compensate investors who faced losses from structured products tied to Chinese stocks. The move comes after a regulatory probe found that some banks had misrepresented the complex instruments when selling them to retail investors. The compensation guidelines proposed by the Financial Supervisory Service suggest that most investors will be compensated for 20% to 60% of their losses. However, some investors are likely to oppose the partial compensation plans and demand full reimbursement. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.